The galaxy was silent. Far away on the edge of known space, the Terrians, small, gentle beings with no army, were being hunted. Their homeworld burned. Their cities fell. The sky was black with enemy ships. The Zarneth Dominion had come, and they came with fire. The Zarneth were a cruel and powerful race. They lived for conquest, crushing anyone who stood in their path. When they saw the Terrians, they saw weakness, easy prey. No one expected the Terrians to fight back, and they didn't. They simply ran, hid, and cried for help. They sent a single message into deep space, a final call, a desperate signal. It traveled light years, passing the rich worlds of the inner galaxy. But no one answered. The stronger races saw the signal and turned away. They had made peace with the Zarneth long ago. Why risk war for a race that couldn't defend itself? It's not our problem, they said. Let someone else handle it. The Terrians were alone, but then the signal reached Earth. It arrived at Earth's Deep Space Command, buried deep under the ice in Antarctica. The officers there listened in silence. No one spoke. The message was weak and broken, filled with static. But the pain was clear. Children screaming, buildings falling. A voice, soft and shaking, saying, "Please, someone help us." The humans did not call a council. They did not hold a meeting or ask for permission. Earth did not reply to the message. They sent something else. Far above Earth, locked inside a dark hangar, a ship waited. It had no name the galaxy knew. It was built for one purpose: to strike first and end the threat before it grew. The humans called it Thunderchild. Without warning, without fanfare, Thunderchild launched. It didn't move like other ships. It broke through the limits of what was thought possible. Faster-than-light engines screamed to life, and the ship vanished into the black, heading straight for the outer rim. No signals were sent. No warnings were given. To the galaxy, it looked like Earth had stayed silent, but something deadly was already on its way. Meanwhile, the Terrians were losing hope. Their last safe cities were under siege. Their leaders had been captured or killed. Families huddled in caves, listening as the sky shook from above. They no longer spoke of survival, only of how long they could hold on. On a rocky moon not far from the Terrian homeworld, a Zarneth patrol station picked up something strange. A signal they didn't recognize. A ship, massive, dark, cold, was entering their space. It wasn't cloaked. It wasn't trying to hide, but it was fast. Too fast. The Zarneth captain laughed. "Send a warning," he said. "One ship isn't going to scare us." But the message never finished sending. In the blink of an eye, the ship appeared above them. And in one flash of light, the station was gone. Across the galaxy, no one noticed the missing station. Just another glitch in a far-off zone. But to the Terrians, something had changed. They didn't know what it was. The air felt different. A whisper passed through the hidden places. Someone was coming. In a bunker beneath the ruins of a city, an old Terrian elder spoke to the children. "Once," he said, "the stars were filled with stories. Some told of beings of fire and thunder. Maybe one heard us." That night, far above, Thunderchild arrived in orbit. It made no sound, no lights, just a shadow crossing the stars. Inside, human soldiers checked weapons. No one spoke. They all knew why they were here. No orders were needed. The signal had been enough. One soldier looked out, a window ice cold. "They hurt the helpless," he whispered. "So now we show them what we do to monsters." Below, on the surface, Zarneth troops gathered in the cities they had taken. They laughed, confident in their power. The Terrians were no threat. The galaxy would not care. They were sure of it. Then the sky opened. A beam of light cut through the clouds. In seconds, buildings turned to ash. Zarneth tanks melted where they stood. Troops ran, shouting orders that were too late. Thunderchild didn't speak. It didn't warn. It simply acted. From the clouds, human drop pods fell like burning stars. They hit the ground hard, and from them rose armored figures, silent, fast, precise. no wasted motion, no mercy. The Tarians watched from the shadows, eyes wide. They had never seen these warriors before. They didn't know who they were, but something inside told them not to be afraid. The soldiers wore no flags, no names, just one symbol, an earth, surrounded by a ring of fire. One Tarian child looked up at the sky and smiled through tears. "Someone heard us," he said. They came. And far above, inside the command center of Thunderchild, the mission log recorded 3 words. Words that echoed back through the galaxy. Signal received. Justice sent. The smoke still rose from the ruins of the Zarneth base. The fire burned without end. Tarians peeked from behind rocks and broken walls. They didn't speak. They only watched. It was the first time in weeks the sky wasn't filled with fear. It was filled with something else. Power. Thunderchild hovered above, silent as the stars. Its metal skin shimmered with heat. Its engines pulsed like a heartbeat. The humans had landed, and now the galaxy would feel what Earth did when it made a promise. Down below, the Zarneth soldiers were no longer laughing. They ran through the destroyed city, calling for backup, but no help came. Their ships had been turned to ash. Their commanders were either dead or silent. The enemy had arrived without warning and struck without mercy. One Zarneth captain, bloodied and shaking, crawled out from under broken steel. He looked up and saw a human soldier walking toward him. The human moved slowly, calm, focused. The captain raised his weapon, but before he could aim, a flash of blue light hit his gun, melting it in his hands. The human stood over him. No words, no emotion, just a steel helmet and the reflection of fire. "I surrender," the captain cried. But the human didn't move. "You killed unarmed civilians," the soldier said, voice flat. "Surrender isn't enough." And then everything went dark. Elsewhere, in the deep caves of the Tarian mountains, survivors gathered. They had heard the explosions, felt the ground shake. And then the noise stopped. A few brave scouts returned to the city to see what was left. When they came back, they carried strange news. "It's true," one of them said. "The humans, they're real." "They're fighting the Zarneth?" another asked, eyes wide. "No," the scout replied. "They're destroying them." The elder Tarian closed his eyes. "So the old stories were right," he whispered. "Humans are not just protectors. They are storms wrapped in skin." On the battlefield, the human squads moved through the city like shadows. Their weapons made no loud bangs, just clean, cold flashes of light. Each soldier had a target. Each movement had a purpose. One unit found a Zarneth command center hidden beneath a collapsed tower. Inside were files, maps, communications, evidence of everything the Zarneth had done. Sergeant Rivas picked up one of the datapads and read through it. "They plan to wipe out the whole species," she said. "Even the children." Her squad said nothing, but the silence said enough. "Upload everything to Thunderchild," she ordered. "The galaxy needs to see this." In orbit, Thunderchild received the data and began broadcasting across encrypted channels. Not to the Galactic Council, but to every outer world system Earth trusted. The message was simple: Zarneth war crimes confirmed. Human response initiated. Do not interfere. Back on the surface, the last Zarneth warlord in that region, Commander Vrek, stood on a damaged landing pad watching the smoke rise. He couldn't believe what had happened. In one night, half his army had fallen. Not to a fleet, not to a nation, but to one ship and a few dozen soldiers. "They're just humans," he growled. "How can they be this dangerous?" His aide, bleeding and limping, whispered, "They don't fight like us. They don't play games. They fight like this is personal." Vrek spat. "I'll burn the rest of this world before I let them win." He turned to order the launch of his last weapon, a seismic bomb that would crack the planet's crust. If he couldn't hold it, he would destroy it. But then he heard it. A low hum, a rising whistle, then a thunderclap. He looked up. Just in nigh, Time to see Thunderchild's rail cannon fire. The blast hit with the force of a falling star. The base exploded, and Rex's last scream was lost in the fire. Miles away, the Terrians saw the sky flash blue and white. Then came the wind. Warm, clean. It carried no smoke this time, just hope. A child tugged at his mother's sleeve. "Are we safe now?" She didn't know how to answer, but then she saw them. The human soldiers walking through the city ruins, not with guns raised, but with hands outstretched, helping the injured, giving food, setting up shelters. One human removed her helmet. Her face was young, her eyes tired, but kind. She smiled at the child. "You're safe now," she said softly. "Earth heard you." Above them, Thunderchild turned slowly in the sky, its scanners already locking onto the next Zarneth stronghold. The message was clear. Earth had come, Earth was watching, and Earth was not finished yet. The galaxy had stayed quiet for too long. Now, the storm had arrived. The stars shimmered above the broken city, but peace didn't last long. Far from the Terrian homeworld, the Zarneth Dominion stirred like a wounded beast. News of the massacre had reached the Central War Council. Not just news, humiliation. One of their most feared units, crushed. By humans, High Commander Drax slammed his fist into the table. "They dare strike our forces and walk away untouched?" His voice echoed through the war chamber. "Send the 13th Legion. Level the planet. Make them regret ever stepping into our path." The Zarneth fleet roared into motion, dozens of warships cutting across the void. Each ship carried soldiers bred for domination, trained for cruelty. Their commanders believed the humans would fall under overwhelming firepower. After all, no species had ever stood against the full weight of a Dominion strike fleet and lived. But Earth had already seen what they were sending. Thunderchild watched from orbit, its sensors piercing the stars. Inside, Commander Hale studied the enemy formation on the holomap. He didn't blink, he didn't panic, he simply nodded. "They're sending more," said Lieutenant Park, voice low. "They think we're afraid of numbers," Hale replied. "Send the signal." A single pulse left Thunderchild, silent and invisible to most technology. But Earth received it instantly. Back on Earth, inside a black site known only as Outpost Echo, alarms began to flash. In the silence of space near Saturn's orbit, a massive gate activated. Light folded in on itself. Space cracked. And something came through. The Resolve, Earth's second warship. Bigger than Thunderchild. Slower, but far deadlier. Behind it, a fleet of smaller escort ships followed. Silent, black, shaped like blades. This wasn't just defense anymore. This was war. On the Terrian planet, humans helped the survivors evacuate. Fields were cleared for emergency shelters. Food was given. Medics worked nonstop. But even as they saved lives, their eyes remained on the skies. Sergeant Rivas walked beside a Terrian elder, guiding him to safety. "More are coming," she said quietly. The elder looked up. "More humans?" "No," she said. "More Zarneth. But we're not alone either." In the deep sky, the stars blinked, and then vanished. The Zarneth 13th Legion had arrived. Massive ships filled the orbit. Dark, spiked, breathing fire. One of the Terrian children screamed as the sky darkened. Thunderchild remained motionless, but now it wasn't alone. Resolve moved in behind it, shields glowing, weapons armed. The Zarneth commander, aboard the warship Dominance, sent a broadcast. "To the humans who interfere, withdraw. This world belongs to the Zarneth Dominion. Stand down or face extinction." The terror message ended. Earth didn't reply, not with words. Thunderchild's hull opened like a flower. Resolve's cannons began to glow. And then it happened. One single blast from Resolve struck the lead Zarneth ship. It didn't explode. It disappeared. Gone. Erased. Nothing left but dust. Panic spread across the Zarneth fleet. This wasn't a normal weapon. This wasn't even technology they understood. They had expected resistance, not this. Thunderchild followed up with precision strikes, disabling 2 more cruisers before they could even react. In seconds, the great and feared Zarneth 13th Legion was in retreat, but Earth wasn't done. Commander Hale opened a new channel. His voice was calm, but every word was a blade. To the Dominion, this is Earth's only warning. You touched what was not yours. You killed those who called for peace. This is not your galaxy to rule. Leave or be erased. The signal was short, but it spread like fire across communication networks. Species who had hidden from the Zarneth for generations now had a reason to hope, a name to whisper: Earth. Back on the ground, the Tarians watched the sky clear again. Children clapped as streaks of light, the retreating Zarneth ships, vanished into the atmosphere. They're running, someone whispered, but Sergeant Rivas shook her head. No, this was only round 2. They'll be back, but so will we. Inno. The forest, a young Tarian named Kel, stood on a hill and looked up. He had seen his family lost. He had seen his home burned. But now, he had seen something else too, humans arriving like a storm, not to conquer, but to protect. He made a promise to himself right then. If I survive, he said, I will fight with them. Beside him, the wind carried a low hum. Thunderchild's, engines preparing for what came next. And above it all, the stars watched quietly, knowing the storm was far from over. The Zarneth thought this was over. But Earth had only just begun. Far across the stars, deep inside the Zarneth Dominion's war council, the mood was furious. The 13th Legion had not only failed, they had run, beaten, broken, by a species no one had feared before. Earth. High Commander. Drax stood in silence, eyes burning with rage. Around him, holograms of destroyed ships blinked in red. Reports came in. Zarneth cruisers vaporized, soldiers missing, drones malfunctioning near human vessels. But the most terrifying part? Earth never responded to their warnings. They just attacked, with weapons the Dominion didn't even understand. This cannot continue, Drax growled. If they won't kneel, then we crush their homeworld. He slammed his clawed fist onto the table. A plan was made. A fleet like none before would be sent, not to scare, not to threaten, but to destroy Earth completely. At the Zarneth shipyard on the burning moon of Nargzel, the super dreadnought Eclipse was prepared. 3 kilometers long, shielded with black plasma, armed with a planet-killer beam. It had only been used once before, against a species that no longer existed. This time, it would fly to Earth. Meanwhile, on Thunderchild, orbiting the Tarian planet, Commander Hale had already guessed their next move. They've lost too much face. They'll come for Earth directly, he said. Lieutenant Park nodded. We're recalling diplomats, moving civilian colonies underground, but we don't know when or how they'll strike. We won't wait, Hale replied. They want a war on our soil. We'll meet them before they ever touch it. Back on Earth, in a hidden command center beneath the Atlantic Ocean, Deep Space Command went dark. Only red emergency lights remained. A general spoke through a private link to Hale. We've finished the Sentinel protocol. It's time. Earth had never revealed its full strength before, but now it had to. Thunderchild and Resolve were just the beginning. The Sentinel fleet was awakened. In deep lunar orbit, hidden inside the moon itself, 10 warships powered up, ships with zero heat signature, armor that bent light, and weapons so advanced that even Earth's own civilians didn't know they existed. Back in space, as the Eclipse neared the Sol system, it slowed. It had entered Earth's sensor range, but Earth hadn't waited. 3 Sentinels decloaked in its path. The Eclipse commander sneered. You send 3 ships to stop this? The lead Sentinel replied with silence. And then, it launched a single projectile. Not a missile. Not a beam. A sphere. The Zarneth crew laughed until the sphere opened. Inside, thousands of microdrones swarmed out. They didn't explode. They didn't attack. They learned. Each second, they scanned the Eclipse's surface, studied its shields, and began to disrupt them. Within 2 minutes, half the Eclipse's targeting systems shut down. Its crew screamed as consoles sparked and lights died. One by one, its external weapons stopped working. The dreadnought had become blind. Then the Sentinels attacked. Their beams didn't just melt armor, they folded parts of the Eclipse's hull into other dimensions. Entire corridors vanished. Engines collapsed in on themselves. And still, Earth said nothing. No threats, no insults, only action. On the surface of Earth, the sky remained blue. Cities kept moving. Children played. But far above, a war unlike any before was taking place. The Zarnath dreadnought fired blindly, hitting nothing, and then Earth's final message arrived. Broadcast across Zarnath frequencies, it was just 3 words: "This is mercy." And then the Eclipse was gone, not destroyed in fire, not scattered in pieces, just gone, erased from the galaxy like it had never existed. On the Zarnath capital, the silence was heavier than ever. Their greatest ship had vanished. Their commanders had no words. Even Drax stood motionless, claws trembling. "Find out how they did it," he whispered. But the scientists had no answers. The energy signatures didn't match any known technology. The tactical behavior was too fast, almost like instinct, or rage, and one of the younger officers said something that chilled the room. "They didn't fight to win," he said. "They fought to warn us." Back on Earth, Commander Hale stood in Thunderchild's command deck, staring at the quiet stars. "They'll send more," Park said softly. "They always do," Hale replied. "But next time, we won't wait for the call. We'll be watching." Surrey, galaxy had changed. The name Earth no longer meant a distant, forgotten planet. It meant something else now: a storm, a shadow, a line you do not cross. But the Zarnath weren't finished yet. In secret, they gathered what remained of their empire. Something old, something forbidden. A weapon never meant to be used again, and they aimed it straight at Earth. The next battle wasn't coming. It had already begun to move, and this time, even the stars might burn. The message echoed across the stars like thunder rolling through a quiet valley. Every major species paused. Every leader, every warlord, every council sat frozen as Earth's words repeated on every channel, every frequency, in every language. Earth does not conquer. Earth does not kneel. But Earth remembers who answers the call for help and who stays silent. No threat, no rage, just a cold truth. On the peaceful world of Terria, the people stood outside their domes, looking to the sky. They knew Earth had saved them, but now they wondered, what would Earth do next? Would they return home? Would they stay? Or had something changed? Commander Hale sat alone in the command center of Thunderchild, watching the final reports come in. Zarnath resistance, broken. Data cores, neutralized. Survivors, scattered, leaderless. But Hale didn't smile. He knew this wasn't a victory. It was a warning shot, and now the real test would begin. In the far reaches of the Andari system, a secret council of powerful races met in silence. The Andari, the Creel, the Vixari Prime, all of them once too proud to respond to Terria's call for help. They thought humans were just another savage species from a forgotten corner of the galaxy. Now they weren't sure. They destroyed the Zarnath in weeks, the Vexari diplomat said, and they didn't even use their full force. They don't want power, said the Creel matron. They want justice, or revenge. No, the Andari replied. They want memory. They want everyone to remember what they did and what we didn't. And across the galaxy, others were remembering. Old enemies of the Zarnath began sending messages to Earth, not to fight, but to ask for alliances. Small species began requesting protection. Terria, once ignored and helpless, was now seen as sacred. Ground, because Earth had answered their call. Even some humans were surprised. Back on Earth in Deep Space Command, Director Elaine Rourke reviewed transmissions from hundreds of star systems. Her officers looked stunned. We didn't ask for this, one of them whispered. No, she replied. But we answered, and now the galaxy is watching. Elaine walked to the center of the room and gave the order that changed everything. Broadcast one more message. Not fear, not strength, just clarity. The message was short. Earth is listening. Earth remembers. And Earth will always answer. That was all. But it was enough. On Teria, the children who once hid in caves now sang songs of the silver ships that fell from the sky and chased away the monsters. Elders carved stories into the stone about the day Earth came like a storm. On Creel, their warlords began training not for conquest, but for diplomacy, fearing Earth's quiet anger. And in deep space, where pirate clans and slavers once ruled, without mercy, their ships began to vanish, silently removed by black Earth vessels never seen, only felt. The galaxy was changing, not because Earth demanded it, but because Earth had reminded them what it meant to care. A lone Zarneth scout ship, one of the few survivors, drifted into a remote sector. Its pilot, injured and bitter, sent out one last broadcast, full of hatred, calling for vengeance. The signal never reached its target. An Earth drone intercepted it mid-transmission. It didn't respond with weapons. It replied with one line, ends here. And the signal died. Peace didn't come overnight, but fear did. Not fear of destruction, but fear of being forgotten. Fear of being the one who stayed silent when help was needed. And that fear shaped something new. A coalition began. To form, one not ruled by empire or greed, but by one idea: never ignore the cry for help again. At the center of this coalition stood Earth, uncrowned, unrivaled, unwilling to play games, but always watching, always listening. On board Thunderchild, Commander Hale received one last message from Teria's leaders. It read, "We called for help. And you came, but what do we call you now?" Hale didn't reply for a long time. Then he typed 4 simple words. "Just call us. Human." And with that, Thunderchild vanished into fold space once more. No glory. No parades. Just stars ahead. And silence behind. But everyone knew, if the cry for help ever echoed again, Earth would answer. The Zarneth Dominion had never tasted fear before. But now it lived in their halls. It walked with their soldiers. It echoed in their war rooms. Earth had not just survived the attack, it had erased their strongest ship without a sound. The Super Dreadnought Eclipse, their pride, their weapon of terror, was gone as if the universe itself had swallowed it. High Commander Drax stood before the Dominion Council, his voice low and sharp. "They believe they've broken us," he said, "but they have not seen what we keep buried." Deep beneath the black sands of the Zarneth homeworld, scientists and warlords worked together on something ancient. It was not made by Zarneth hands. It was older than their empire, discovered in the ruins of a dead race, long forgotten. They called it Project Black Sun, a weapon of energy collapse. One shot could end the orbit of a planet. 2 could turn a star system into ash. It was never meant to be fired. But fear had twisted the Zarneth. They would rather risk the galaxy than live under Earth's shadow. As preparations began, no one noticed a quiet leak in the Dominion's communication network. Small at first, a relay blinking too fast, a transmission delay, and then missing files. By the time the Dominion realized it, it was too late. Earth was already inside. Commander Hale stood in Thunderchild's strategy room, staring at the holographic map of Zarneth space. Red zones flashed. New codes appeared every hour. "Operation Ghost Lantern is active," Lieutenant Park said. "We're in." "Where's Black Sun?" Hale asked. Park paused, then zoomed in on a dead zone near the Zarneth capital. "There, deep bunker, planet core level. They're building something that could end us." Hale nodded. "Then we stop it before they even know we've moved." Earth's next move didn't come with ships. It came with shadows. 10 deep cover infiltration teams, all human, were launched from hidden satellites already floating near Zarneth space. No engines. No lights. They drifted silently, cloaked in solar particles, sliding past patrols like ghosts. Inside Dominion cities, they landed, unnoticed, unchallenged. One by one, power grids began to flicker. Zarneth war factories suddenly shut down. Black Sun's cooling system failed for 43 seconds, just enough for Earth's probes to scan its core. The data was sent instantly to Deep Space Command on Earth, but something happened Earth didn't expect. One of the teams, Unit 7, was discovered. Trapped inside a Zarneth data vault, 5 humans held the line. They'd uploaded 91% of Black Sun's data when the alarm sounded. Zarneth guards stormed in, 10, then 20, then 30, and the humans didn't run. They activated their suit's final protocol, Hold Point Omega. What came next wasn't a suicide. It was a promise. The humans used a burst pulse EMP, short, range, high impact. Every Zarneth neural weapon failed instantly. Lights blew out, and in the darkness, the humans fought. By the time Dominion forces regained control, all 5 soldiers were gone. But so was Black Sun's encryption. Earth had it all. Back on Thunderchild, Hale read the decrypted files, his hands curled into fists. They're planning to use it on our sun. Park looked stunned. They want to end Earth completely. Then we make sure they never get the chance. Earth moved faster than anyone in the galaxy could have imagined. While the Zarneth focused on building death, Earth's orbital forges built something else, something no one had ever seen. The Helios Array. Not a weapon in the old sense. It didn't fire missiles, it didn't launch beams, it bent space, it redirected gravitational flows. It could twist a fleet into the wrong coordinates, trap armies in endless loops of subspace, and it was almost ready. As Earth's engineers worked, Hale sent one message to the Dominion, 3 words like last time. We are awake. Zarneth? Leaders screamed in frustration. Black Sun had to launch now before Earth struck again. They powered the core. Targeted Sol. And as the weapon charged, alarms began to scream across every Dominion base, teleportation signals, but not Zarneth, Earth. The Sentinels arrived inside Zarneth space, not from the edge, but from within. Earth had tunneled space itself. Thunderchild and 5 Sentinels dropped directly into the orbit of the Dominion's homeworld. No warning, no countdown, just arrival. The sky above Zarneth turned black, not from smoke, but from Earth's silence. And then Thunderchild spoke, a calm voice, no anger. Stand down, or disappear. Zarneth refused. They launched Black Sun. But the Helios Array had already moved. The beam missed Earth's sun by 3 astronomical units, because space itself had shifted, and then Hale gave the order. Erase it. The Sentinels fired, not at ships, at memory cores, at power. Grids, at command halls. Zarneth didn't die in fire. They fell in confusion. Lights out. Voices gone. And the Dominion realized, too late, Earth hadn't been responding in anger. They had been calculating. The Zarneth homeworld fell quiet. But somewhere, beyond even Earth's sensors, a remnant had fled, with one last secret. And Earth had only one question left. Who else heard the call for help? The Zarneth Dominion was shattered, their homeworld silenced, their fleet scattered. What remained of their once mighty empire was nothing more than whispers in the void. But Earth knew it wasn't over. Not yet. In the black edges of the galaxy, where no stars shined and no maps reached, a small Zarneth fleet ran silently. 4 warships, 2 carriers, and a single transport ship carrying something far worse than weapons. Data. Records of Black Sun, hidden codes, surviving commanders. If they reached another empire, Earth's battle would begin all over again, but the humans were never far behind. Commander Hale stood inside Thunderchild, his eyes locked on a dark sector codenamed Dead Ring. It was where the Zarneth fled, a place thought to be unreachable by modern drives. But Earth had something the galaxy didn't understand yet. Fold-breach jump cores. We don't chase, Hale said. We arrive. Earth's fleet didn't follow the Zarneth. It appeared in front of them, without sound, without warning, just space tearing open, and Thunderchild stepping through the breach like a ghost rising from smoke. The fleeing Zarneth ships panicked. They tried to veer away. Too late. The lead Earthship, Vigil's Reach, unleashed a gravity snare that collapsed space ahead of the Zarneth fleet. Their engines burned hot, trying to escape, but every second pulled them closer to the waiting Earth formation. Inside the Zarneth command vessel, Supreme Strategist Malgor stared at the human ships. "They shouldn't be here," he whispered. "They shouldn't know where we are." But Earth did know, because while the Dominion thought they were escaping, Earth had planned their route. They had let them run. And now, the trap was closing. The Zarneth launched fighters, hoping to pierce through and give the transport time to flee. But Earth didn't send fighters. They sent wardens. Silent drones, barely larger than a man, but moving faster than thought. They weren't machines of war. They were machines of precision. They didn't destroy enemy fighters. They disabled them. They didn't explode ships. They turned off systems. The battlefield turned into chaos. Zarneth pilots screamed as their controls died. Power failed. Lights faded. Ships floated, helpless, in front of Earth's fleet. And then Thunderchild sent a signal. One sentence. Turn. Back. No more warnings. But the Zarneth didn't listen. Their transport ship, last hope of the Dominion, charged its experimental warp drive and vanished into subspace. Commander Hale turned to his crew. "They're trying to reach the Meridian." "Line," he said. The Meridian line was neutral space, full of independent systems. If the Zarneth reached it, the data would spread. Earth would be seen not as heroes, but as monsters. "We cannot let that happen," Hale said. Earth's fleet launched a final unit, Phantom Group 9. Black ships designed for one thing: interception before detection. They vanished into space, chasing the transport into subspace tunnels, twisting corridors of unstable reality. Inside the transport, Strategist Malgor watched the sensors. "We made it," he said. "They can't reach us here." But he was wrong. The stars around them flickered, and a black triangle appeared in the void ahead. No heat, no signal, just presence. The Earthship didn't fire. It hacked. Lights inside. The transport flickered, doors sealed, engines shut down. The Zarneth crew scrambled for control, but their systems responded in a cold voice. Earth's voice. "You were warned." Malgor ran to the data core and activated the self-destruct, but even that failed. Earth had already rewritten the system. In the final moments, Malgor stared into the dark screen, and it blinked a final message before going black. "You ran from mercy. Now face memory." The data core erased itself, locked, sealed, forgotten. The last piece of Zarneth power vanished. Earth didn't destroy the ship. They left it adrift, silent and empty, a reminder. When Thunderchild returned to the edge of known space, the galaxy was waiting. Over 90 species had watched Earth's rise, some with awe, some with fear, some with growing anger, and Earth knew it. They didn't send threats. They didn't send ambassadors. They sent a signal, a new message, calm, controlled and broadcast across every star system. It said, "Earth does not conquer. Earth does not kneel, but Earth remembers who answers the call for help and who stays silent." The galaxy held its breath, because for the first time, they realized something chilling. Humanity didn't want war, but if war came, they would never run.